Queen of Commerce is here.
Oh, that's awesome.
It's on the record. Oh, you're the queen.
Good morning, everyone. This is the Vermont House Committee on Commerce and Economic Development. It is Wednesday, April 2nd, 2025 at 10:55 in the morning. And as I just said, the Queen of Commerce is back with us again. And we're now coming back from a joint hearing that we held with our counterparts in the Senate. For Manufacturing Day, we heard some very good testimony from some of the great manufacturing businesses that we have in the state. And so now we're back to having bill introductions this morning. And so we have Representative Chino with us on H 366. So Representative Chino, welcome. Thank you for coming in this morning.
I know we're beginning a little late. Do we still have until 11:05? Because if so,
We can go with, well, we can, yeah,
a few extra minutes. Okay, I said I won't rush, but I also don't think I need a lot of time to. I really am going to pitch the ideas of the bills to you and not do a line by line walkthrough.
we appreciate that.
Yeah, because it's just going to take you. It'll take long, and you'll start getting sleepy, I think. And I'd rather like inspire you and then leave you wanting more. So,
That's what we're looking for.
okay, so let's start with H 66. It is an act relating to neurological rights. And I do want to read you the purpose of the bill, because I think that's important, that it says that an individual has the right to mental and neural data privacy, the freedom of thought, cognitive liberty, and that they have the right to change their decision regarding neurotechnology and the right to determine by what means to change that decision. They have the right to be afforded protection from neurotechnological interventions of the mind and from unauthorized access to or manipulation of their brain activity. And they have the right to be afforded protection from unauthorized neurotechnological alterations in their mental functionings critical to their personality. Now, one might say, is this even realistic? But I want to emphasize that this is not a one-day late April Fool's joke, but that we are on the verge of a revolution or evolution, a leap forward in human technology, where within a year or two, maybe 5 at the latest, but I think sooner than people realize, these are going to be very pressing issues for us. So yesterday in the healthcare committee, we were hearing, like that if Elon Musk came to Vermont and broke his leg, that we need, the hospital needs to be able to sue him and put a lien on his house if he won't pay his bill. Well, I'm going to bring up Elon Musk again today here, but in a different context. That if someone, I'm not going to say anyone's name because I'm superstitious, if someone fell skiing and broke their neck and became paralyzed right now, in 2 or 3 years, Elon Musk's company Neuralink may provide a product that will allow them to walk again. It's called Neuralink. And I would encourage you to take some testimony either from that company or from some other experts on Neuralink and what's coming. Neuralink is going to allow circuitry to be inserted into the brain by a robot, the precision surgery, and it's going to allow parts of the brain to communicate that might have been disconnected. This is going to change. We're going to be able to rewire people using circuits, and that when this circuitry, when these implants, is what they are, implants are deployed, they're also going to allow people to have augmented abilities. And you can imagine what that might mean when someone who was once paralyzed can now access the internet with their mind, can text you with their mind, can look anything up, like right there, sitting in front of you. And the company says, well, now we're selling this. What is that going to mean for humanity? And how are people going to react? Based on how people have responded with their phones, I would predict that people are going to pay the companies to take their data. They're going to be like, take my money, give me weird games on my phone with coins and like points on Temu, while the companies are like now mining data from their brains, mining neurological data. And this committee did include, and I thank you for this, a piece on neurological data in the data privacy bill last year. This bill goes further than that. And I would like you to consider going further, whether it be through this vehicle or when that, it might be on your wall, the data privacy bill from the Senate, right? It's coming if it hasn't arrived. That oh, that's the wall. So maybe it's up there because I was like, wow, that's it. Like when I looked at this wall.
It's up there, don't worry.
Yeah. So like I would expect there's gonna be a way, some of this, if not all of it, could fit in there, and I'd like you to take it seriously. And the reason why there's urgency, and then I'll maybe hear if there's any questions, is that just to rewind, not everyone knows my history on this, but Vermont was the first state to pass AI legislation. We created it. It was a bill I was the only sponsor, and everyone kind of mocked me, and then realized this was before I think everyone except the chair's time. Actually, I think the chair was here and everyone else wasn't here yet when this happened. People were kind of, understandably so. They were like, "What? This is ridiculous," you know. But then, and the original bill talked about the rights of machines, so I get it. But maybe it went a little too far. But the gist is that we passed an AI task force. The AI task force, I served on it as an appointee by the NASW, the National Association of Social Workers. We had recommendations. It took a while, but the state passed many of them. Now we have a division of artificial intelligence, a code of ethics, an inventory of all ways that the state uses AI so that the public knows how the government is using AI in its functioning. We have an AI advisory council, and I think they call it the Vermont model. People are look at this around the country, and you do have a member of your committee who could teach you more about AI at this point, because now I'm not the only one like involved, you know, in national AI policy stuff. But this, I share all that because there was I don't know when it was, Representative Priestley may remember when we were both in DC for the first working group or task force, the AI task force for the National Conference of State Legislatures. And then afterwards I said, you know, so do you want me to be on this? And they said, no, we want you to be on the healthcare one. And I was sort of like, huh? And they're like, well, we have Representative Priestley for this, but we need you on healthcare because that's going to be the first sector that AI is going to affect people in a significant way. And so I'm on the healthcare, you know, the National Conference of State Legislatures healthcare committee. But I was asked because of AI. That's how imminent this is. And the last thing I'll leave you with is that when President Biden passed or issued, I think they say issued an executive order that was groundbreaking, that went further than I ever would imagine in terms of like setting boundaries around the regulation, not hindering AI, but setting guardrails and encouraging the Federal Trade Commission to get involved in like looking at the ethics of AI nationally. And it was actually surprising to me. And even the language of it, some of it was our language. It was like words that Vermont used that made it all the way to the president. But you should read President Trump's executive order. And I think people should question, why is it that all the tech companies and Elon Musk are lining up behind this president? They've often spent their money on another party. So it's not about the party here. It's really about the moment in history and who's in power, and how do if you stand to gain from who's in power, you're going to do whatever you spend all that money and line up behind that person, whoever that person is. It could have been Hillary Clinton, and I think they would be up there with her right now. Like, the reality is that the tech companies were on the verge of this pivotal moment where tech companies will have unprecedented power. Once you have a chip in your mind, in your brain, what does that mean? And you can read through the bill with Ledge Council, but it talks about like conscious, like bypassing conscious decision making. Like, if you think about it, there's all these functions of the brain, the mind, and the body you don't think about. You breathe. I mean, yes, some of us think about that a lot because we're like hyperventilating from stress, but like, you know, most of the time you're breathing, you're digesting, and then thinking about it. So what if these circuits are allowing that bypass, but there's no safeguards for the other things? What if we don't have safeguards so a company can't say, well, instead of advertising, we're just going to send you these like signals to make you crave this thing, you know, instead of, or like to sell you stuff more, we're going to mine your subconscious and we're going to know exactly what your vice is. And we're going to make sure that those cues are put in your whatever stream, your, you know, your news feed, whatever it is that goes on when this happens. So I could go off about this further, but I shouldn't because we are limited time. If you want to study this more, you could bring me back, but I think it would be better for us to work together and make a list of witnesses and have them come in. Because then you will hear, we can bring in experts on these different pieces. And not that I don't have expertise, but I'm one of you. So I think it's better to make space for those voices and to bring them in here. And also the opponents of this. I want to know why a company would feel like they need, access to your brain. Like why? Why should people not have those rights? Because you heard them at the beginning. The rights that I think we need to have, and I don't think those are unreasonable things. I think that they're in line with our Constitution. They're like maintaining the human rights that we've enshrined at the foundation of our law, and we need to make sure that the law protects those rights as the behavior of humans evolves. So I'll stop there and see what people have to say.
Dark patterns.
Yeah.
Questions for Brian? Pretty interesting. It can be very beneficial and can be very scary too.
This was the stuff of science fiction when I was a kid.
I'll send you a link to Elon Musk's website just to show you the rats with the thing. I mean, it's very real now. It is happening. Wait, did you have a question?
Oh, no, I guess it was just a statement. It makes me think of the 23andMe sale that's
Mhm.
happening and we didn't really protect people.
I've never used one of
Think.
them.
Yeah. that's it.
Okay,
Next.
we can transition.
Right. Well, after sort of like, I feel like we just did the Matrix. Now we're gonna do, now we're gonna do like, I don't know, some like, lighthearted comedy about sports. So although this is also not an April Fool's joke, I think we should bring the Olympics to Vermont, or actually, I think we should study the possibility of bringing the Olympics to Vermont. Because I don't know yet if it's a good idea, but I think the study is a good idea. And that's what I want to talk about, why I think studying it's a good idea. Because there's more, this wouldn't just be another, if we did it right, it wouldn't just be another stack of paper on a shelf. It could be used to inform major decisions at this moment in history around land use and development. So, I actually did write a few bullet points to keep me focused on this one. Yeah, so at this moment in history, we are engaging in this next level regional planning process. I don't know if anyone's looked at the land use maps yet, but I have started to, and I find that stuff very interesting. When we look at the development of housing, are we looking at other business? Are we looking at other aspects of commerce? If we are we doing it good enough? I would say we could do better. I think even the regional planning commissions, if we spoke with them, if we funded them better and gave some direction, could do more around regional planning when it comes to business and the economy around the housing. So I think it would be a missed opportunity if at the very least your committee didn't advocate for greater assessment of other pieces of the economy surrounding housing development as we move forward with this housing boom to addressing the housing crisis. One of the greatest strengths of Vermont in every region, I can't think of one part of Vermont where we could not, if we had someone here from that part, couldn't name something, is our recreational and tourism industry. Every single part of the state is touched by that. And it's a great strength that attracts people to Vermont currently, but we have a limited capacity here to host events. We have some great venues like Applejack Field down in Manchester, which has an AI camera system. That's how I know about it. People come here to train at Applejack Field and do events there. But where do people stay? What's the hotel capacity in that area? Are Airbnbs competing with housing? Like there's these other components around it that are important. So it would benefit Vermont at this time in history for us to study the strengths surrounding housing development in various regions, whether that be the tourism, recreational opportunities, agriculture, manufacturing, but what if we did it with a vision? what if we didn't just say, we're just going to study what works in these areas, but we're going to study what the strengths are, and we're going to figure out how to build on those strengths and really advertise and recruit, so that we have businesses coming in that align with these existing use, that we promote development around these assets so that we can sustain the tourism and sustain greater economic activity. And so even if we never brought the Olympics to Vermont, it would make sense at this point in history to look at this. But what if we did it with that spirit? What it would really give people a sense of vision, a sense of purpose, something to believe in, something to aim for, over the next 12 years. And so what the bill really does is it looks at, sorry, I have ADHD. So when so I just need to let them come in, and then I would just like be able to focus. I have ADHD. I'm neurodivergent. I should say that. I apologize. All right. So essentially what I was saying is that as we're at this moment in history, as we are considering these land use maps over the next 50, 100 years about housing, let's look at the assets related to the recreational tourist sports industry across regions of Vermont, and let's look at how we can build on those strengths to improve the economy across every part of Vermont. And maybe one way to do that would be to do it in the spirit of an Olympics proposal. So what this bill would do is create an Olympics task force and say to them, come back in a year with a proposal, and the legislature would look at it on how viable it would be to bring the Olympics to Vermont. If the legislature looked at that and said, hell no, we do not want all these flatlanders coming here telling us how to live our lives. These are the things we hear people say, coming here with their, with their SUVs, fine. But maybe what comes out of it is we say, okay, in this community, there's this hockey arena that works. There's this facility that works. Let's build a gym in this housing development, and everyone in the neighborhood uses the gym, and maybe then people can train, creates greater capacity at that arena for people to come visit and use it. Like what I'm getting at is we can embed facilities for the people of Vermont into our developments that could also be used for the Olympics. And if you look at their current approach, it's very different than the past. It's called like Agenda 2025 or something, which sketches me out because it's very similar to Project 2025. It's just, I'm sick of all these numerical agendas, but and they're, you know what I mean? Like on all
Quarter of the way through now.
yeah. But the point is that they have a name for it, but their approach now, it used to be you came to them with a proposal, you spent all this money, you built all this expensive infrastructure, you used it once, and then you'd be in debt. They don't do that anymore. They engage in dialogue with you. Oh, so the first step is you bring them a proposal, you create some kind of group like this, and you make a proposal, you bring it to them. If they think it's viable, they engage in dialogue with you about it to hash it out, and then they pay for a feasibility study that meets their standards. And then if they choose you, they work with you over the years. They even can send workers in to help run it, so you don't have to worry about it. There's so much more they do for you. And if you look at what they ask, it's vastly different than the past. They ask that you maximize the use, and this is in the bill, of existing and temporary venues and build new ones if there is a long-term legacy need. They're looking at events located in more than one city, region, or country. Could you imagine what we could do with Canada? That you could have Derby, what's that town with the library? It is Derby Line. Could you imagine is an international village exists there already, or if you look at some of the co-sponsors of the bill, like me and Woody Page talk about a curling arena in Newport, you could have, Lake Memphremagog and Lake Champlain. You could have international events. So we are prime location to do a regional Olympics that crosses international boundaries at a time, when on a federal level, people are building walls. Vermont could be building a bridge for the future. Another piece is that they're looking at Olympic projects or bids, they're assessed according to several elements, including how well they fit with existing regional and national development plans. and the strategic goals of the Olympics, and they want strong public and political support. And they want them to be aligned with local long-term socioeconomic development plans. They want climate responsible projects that will create lasting community benefits. They're also looking at locations that can do the Winter Olympics and then show the impact of climate change. So if in 12 to 18 years, Vermont did a Winter Olympics, we could do a Summer Olympics. I know some of you may not be around anymore. Hopefully you all will, but like in 30 something years, we could do a Summer Olympics and we could show the world, look how this region adapted our economy and our way of life to climate change. Look how we got through this. We can set an example for how people in the 21st century weathered the storm. We can build an ark that rises with the water. And so like there's definitely a lot of reasons why Vermont would be an appealing place for the Olympics to consider doing an event. And we can learn from the mistakes of past Olympics, like Saranac Lake, Lake Placid. Their first Olympics was very successful. The second one, they had problems because of planning. So we need to study that. If we were going to bring the Olympics here, because what I would not want is I would want us to learn from the mistakes of past places. Montreal, for example, the Olympics, there were problems, but the Expo in '67 laid the foundation for the modern city of Montreal and their entire subway system, the whole downtown. The island where we have day parties, what's it called? A picnic electronique. I can't remember the island. There's like a geodome, just desert dome, Anyway, it's fun. Sundays in the summertime, you can go dance on this island in Montreal. Like that was all done as part of the Expo. So I would look to those examples, that Vermont could look to how these international events coming to a region were used to take a step forward and done in a way that builds the economy and health of the people. And if we brought the Olympics here, we could do it in a way that the training facilities, the recreational facilities, this infrastructure could be available to the people as well as to guests, and that it could have a long-lasting benefit, and that we could just set an example for the rest of the world that during a very dark time, we could hold a torch up for the rest of the world on how humanity came together across regions, across nations, and found a way to live better when we thought that there was no hope left. So that's like my pitch for us to consider. And so I don't know how you could do this year. I think there is some urgency because time is ticking and we need to get on, the development train here and really step it up. But maybe next year, or maybe there's a bill this could be attached to the idea of the study. So, but really what I would ask you to do is study it, not let's bring the Olympics. It's a good idea. More like it might be a good idea to do this. And if not, we can learn from this study and at least do some of its recommendations to improve public health and the economy.
Brian, thank you.
No questions. You're like, how could this?
I've got them backed up now, so.
Oh, you have like the things on the schedule. All right.
Yeah. Appreciate you coming in. I'm sorry to
That we were late.
but
Oh, it's okay.
if we have questions, we'll ask you to come back.
I'll be talking to you.
Yeah, well, thanks for giving me time today. I was going to ask for it, and I didn't have to. Sorry, I'm grabbing my food. Who's next?
So,
I want to hear Will's, so I want to sneak over.
good morning, Representative Greer.
Thank you so much.
Morning,
There we go.
Well, thank you so much for having me on. For the record, I'm Representative Will Greer of Bennington. So we're going to be discussing H370, which is a cryptocurrency regulation bill. And we'll kind of walk through, I'll just kind of touch more around the inspiration for this. And then if you have particular questions on the bill, I'm happy to answer. But starting off with public opinion, I think that's always a good place to start. Where is it grounded outside of the building? So first is competency in cryptocurrency, just as a public as a private asset, as a digital asset. Approximately 63% of US adults express little to no confidence in the reliability and safety of cryptocurrencies. There is an age difference with this, though, when we break it down further. Skepticism's highest among those 50 and older. 71% of people in that category express little to no confidence in cryptocurrency, whereas with younger adults under 50, it's about 55%. Impact on personal investment among those familiar with cryptocurrency but have not invested. So I think this is a key thing. There's the people that have experience with cryptocurrency and those that don't. So there's a gap of education and learning with it. That 82% lack confidence in its safety and reliability. So these are, the people like me that have never invested in cryptocurrency. I'll admit to that on the record. 82% of us would not have confidence, whereas those who have invested, about 40% of them share skepticisms with it, which I think would be exceptionally high, in my opinion, that I were investing my money into a digital asset and I still had, about half of people in the same boat as me expressing skepticism. Usage of those remains stable over the past few years. So obviously, I think people have believed that cryptocurrencies magically appeared over the past 2 to 4 years, but it's really been with us for about over a decade, I believe, since the first, bits of it started popping up. But only about 17% of US adults have it right now, and that's remained stable the past couple of years. So it's a small portion of our country, but still that's a major impact if something were to go wrong and we don't regulate it correctly. And then want to move into just talking about some of the controversies that I'm sure we've heard about cryptocurrency. We saw FTX and everything that happened with that. I won't get into the details of that because that doesn't necessarily pertain to the bill. But New York State has been working a lot on this. And so they put in a moratorium around mining for 2 years, which is not exactly what this bill does. This bill is more wanting to examine how mining has an impact on our energy rates. And how that affects Vermonters and their utility rates. But just a quote that I wanted to pull up from the FTC's report on fraud cases, because I think that's also another big topic when we talk about cryptocurrency. The kiosks, fraud associated with transacting it. There was an FTC report that showed that there was over $1 billion stolen via crypto scams. These are fake investment programs. And these are also, of course, the romance scams that we've seen even prior to Bitcoin and cryptocurrency kind of, falling into that market. There are, and I wanted to just address that there is legislation in other states, such as Arizona and Virginia, where they are expanding the money transmission statutes and provisions that explicitly will cover crypto transactions, ensuring that prosecutors can charge Ponzi schemers or fake token peddlers under their laws by including crypto in it. Of course, with the mining, going back to that just very briefly, there are the environmental concerns about it. Local communities, we've seen this particularly out west in places like Utah and Kansas, where small towns will have crypto miners come in with these large servers and just set up shop without any sort of licensing, without any sort of regulatory framework around them. And so all of their energy rates go up because when the demand goes up, it's not going to necessarily, see the difference between a server and someone who's turning on the light bulb in their house. So there's concerns with that I think this bill would hopefully address.
I think I read something yesterday or the day before that these crypto miners actually get reduced rates where, the normal residential could be paying 14 cents a kilowatt hour and they're getting it for 2 or 3. So the residential customers are actually subsidizing those businesses.
And, just to add on to that, Chairman, that there was a story from Texas very similar to that, where miners were actually getting paid, I believe, $1 million a day for a period when the weather was so hot and the energy grid was so fragile that they were getting paid $1 million a day to not run their servers. They said, we will pay you to not do anything. And I think that's a very absurd and flawed practice right there in and of itself. There's been the argument made, and I think it's worth exploring at least, that, while we're doing the renewable energy transition, across the world, really, that this could somehow be a way to act on that capacity when, there may be higher demands of, energy being created that you can't store and people can't use, and to kind of use that to buffer. But I don't know if those claims are necessarily found yet or substantiated, but I think that's something worth considering as, as we're extending battery capacity and battery life, seeing if that's an alternative that we could use. But in terms of, just additional things, I think that covers mostly everything, but I'm happy to take any questions around, any general things that I might know or anything related to the bill.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, guys gotta move on.
A lot of time.
Okay.
We're over time, but I've been, the plan is committee will take some time and talk about these bills. I think, there's a lot of them that we may want to explore more. So certainly appreciate you taking time to come in.
Well, thank you so much. And you know where to find me if you have questions. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Will.
We have early college students with us this morning. We have the president of our Community College of Vermont, there's Judy. Joyce, thank you, and thank you to the students for coming
Yes.
in.
Do we have one more? Can I get one more chair? Can I get one outside?
Another one.
Usually. Probably sand. Well,
There might be one in one of the lounges, I can see.
Yeah, there's probably one.
I will get started.
John's around the corner. If he comes back, just have him relocate up there.
Or is Jonathan
Yeah,
here?
yeah,
Okay,
John
Do you want-
John could sit up here.
okay,
Edie's not in today.
okay, great, thank you. Thank you, and thank you, Chairman Marcotte, for this opportunity. You've heard me speak before about early college, and today we have the opportunity, we have a number of early college students here in the building, and I want them to share their story. But just to,
Oh, you found one?
yeah, I think we're good now.
There you
Yep, thank you. But just to sort of just kick this off, I just, as a reminder, in 2013, the legislature and, this committee has been a huge supporter of the Flexible Pathways Bill, Act 77, which was really designed to create opportunities for students as they pursue earn their high school diploma, a lot of different opportunities to explore and to earn high school credit so that they can have a fulfilling and engaging high school career. And early college is one of those opportunities, along with work-based learning, dual enrollment, internships. There's a number of programs under Act 77. And I think you're going to hear today how valuable the early college program is. It's not a program that's right for every student, because what it does, just as a reminder, early college is where students opt to do all of their academic programming during their senior year at a college that's involved in that. CCV has almost 240 students doing it this year. So just to give you a perspective, this year, about 6% of Vermont's high school students are engaged in early college. So it's not big numbers, but for those students, it's incredibly, incredibly impactful. And, students come, you're going to hear from the students, they come to, they do early college for a variety of reasons, and I think, we've heard, is early college only for the high flyers or, for wealthy kids? And I would say, that's just not the profile that we see, particularly at CCV. We see students. I had a young man who said to me, I came to early college because my parents got divorced, and the idea that I was now in a new school district and doing my senior year there was not an option. We've had students in smaller schools say, I've been with the same group of kids for 11 years. I just am done with that, and I need a different experience. And then, then there are kids for whom they've exhausted their high school, the opportunities that they feel are available to them through that school, and want to challenge themselves to do some different things. The one thing that is very, I think, you know, and I know some people on this committee had a hand in helping to craft it. I think one of the things that's been very important is for students who participate in early college, they do their academic programming at, say, CCV, but they can still participate in sports, drama, the extracurricular. So they're not unenrolled from their high school, but it's a nice blend of the two. So with that, I want to just wanted to set the stage for all of you, and then I would love for you to spend some time hearing from students and feel free to ask them questions. I will tell you, you know, they both admitted that they're a little nervous, so we'll give them the space that they have, but this is a great experience for them. And so I will turn to Savannah and ask you to introduce yourself and share your story.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for having me. My name is Savannah LaFountain. I am from Essex, so I went to Essex High School before CCV, and then I went to CCV Winooski. Early college was actually a really easy choice for me. They kind of make it out to be like it can be really hard, which for some people it can. But for me, I had one class left, and I was going to have to go to high school for one class, an entire school calendar year. And I was just like, I went in my counselor's office. I was like, what can I do? Because it just doesn't make sense. I felt like it was going to hold me up. And he told me about this program, and it was just an immediate yes, that will get me so far. And it did. I was able to take classes fully online, and that allowed me to help run my family maple business because I had a lot more free time. And that's something I've been very involved in from. I started it with my family when I was 15. So it was a very big thing for me, having flexibility. And then I did my full early college year. And by the next year, I got to do the McClure Free Degree Promise program. And I had my free associate's degree in early childhood education. So I'm able to work as a substitute teacher now. Anything else?
That's a good start.
All right.
Hi, everyone. My name is Jada. I'm from Vernon, all the way down in Windham County. Yeah,
And she made the trip.
I made the trip. So this is my first year I'm doing early college. And why I chose to do early college was because I was done with traditional high school. I was looking to graduate a year early. And my guidance counselor said, wait, hold on. You might not have to graduate early. Here's this program where you can go to college. And for my family, college was not going to be an option. I'm one of three. My older sister is at a university in Illinois, and we're already struggling to fund her school. She's already looking to transfer to a cheaper school. So I didn't want to put that burden on myself or my family. So I chose early college to not only get out of that rut of going into the same class every day with the same people and the same teachers. I wanted to explore. I wanted to get out in the world. So I chose to do early college to not only gain those college credits for free, but to also gain some personal independence. Now that I am fully online like Savannah, I work full time in a memory care unit at a nursing home, and I'm a junior firefighter. So this early college has allowed me to explore different avenues that being in traditional high school would not have allowed me to do. I love my job. I've worked with kids, and now I'm on the opposite end, working with the elderly, and it's something I've loved. And it would not have been something I would have been able to explore if I didn't have the flexibility that the early college program provides. So I think that it's something really important because it's impacted me and my family in such a great way. My dad is here with me today, supporting me on this endeavor. And it's a great way to really gain your independence if you're feeling, okay, I've outgrown my high school, I've outgrown my life. I want to learn how to do things on my own. I want to take this step. That's what I really love about the early college, is how it's so flexible and you can really take it any way you want it.
And just to fill in a couple things before we open it up for questions. So this year at CCV, we have about 240 students that are enrolled. And what's been very interesting over the course of the time that we've been running early college is our growth has been in low-income first-generation students. So this year, more than 50% of the students who are enrolled at CCV are low-income, and more than 50% of them are first generation. And then about 18% of our students are identify as people of color. And so it's really, I think for us, we have really tried to put our resources are into people who never imagined that college was possible for them, or that, it was going to be a real burden for their family. We want everyone to, that if early college works for students, we want anyone to come. But where we have really tried to focus is making sure that students whose families, I think oftentimes have taken the idea of continuing their education. And, I think I've shared with this group, I believe college is incredibly important. But what I really believe in is the power of education and the importance of continuing your education beyond high school. So if it's not college, it's an apprenticeship, it's military or something. But if they're going to, get the jobs that are here in Vermont and keep our businesses here, we've got to have them seeing that they're going to continue their education after high school. So if we can plant seeds while they're still in high school, that this is a possibility for them, it's been pretty gratifying, because what we're also seeing is that a very large percentage of those students who engage in early college then continue on in Vermont, which is, in terms of, as we think about as taxpayers and think about the investment, that's, selfishly, that's a great story. So I'll stop there. I want to make sure we have time for you guys to ask them questions. So
Thank you for coming in. We certainly appreciate it. Don't be nervous. We're Vermonters like you. We all come from different walks of life. This is kind of a temporary job for us. We have real jobs when the legislature stops. So I happen to own a business. Abby has a business. Many of us do all different kinds of things. So just think of it as being around the kitchen table and having a conversation with your relatives and friends. But I think, as Joyce said, that, this is the number one in investment that we feel is that we want to make. Number one for our kids. Yes, we want you to stay, but we also realize that sometimes you have to leave and experience the world before you come back, because sometimes you don't know what you have until you go out and look, right? So we hope you stay, because we need you in the jobs that we're trying to get filled in Vermont. But we also understand that you may have a need to go out and experience the world before you do come back. Again, thank you. We're happy that you accessed the early college program, and we're happy that we were able to help you do that. So open it up for questions from the committee. Tony?
Yeah, so just a little background on me. I have a son who did go through the early college program, probably a couple of years older than you, who was homeschooled. And now he is the reason I can be here, because, as the chair mentioned, I have a business I run. And because of some of the skills he learned there and skills I taught after, he's able to run that business for me, so I can be here. But what I wanted to ask you about is one of the things that we've been looking at CTE, which is a little bit of an alternative to college, allows someone to learn a trade. But one of the concerns I've heard is that there's a real anxiety among the kids being separated from their schools. Now, I know in your case, you're still able to do the extracurricular activities. You're still able to attend the classes. What I'd like to know is, how important was that? How important of a factor was it that you would be able to graduate with your class, still attend the extracurricular activities, and still do some of those classes at school, at your home school, your sending school?
I mean, it's meant a lot of to me. I'm part of the National Honor Society. I go in once a month still with my school. It's important to me because I get to go into those meetings, whether it's, an NHS meeting or prom, or support them at sports events. So for me, I was able to get the academic growth that I was looking for, but it was also, I had a home base I could come back to. If I was struggling with something in a CCV class, I can go talk to my geometry teacher that I had when I was a junior and say, hey, can you help me out with this? And so I think that's one of the beautiful things about it is that you can weave them together. So you're not just CCV or, just at your home school. There's a way to, weave it all in together. So you can have that, ending that you're looking for when you graduate.
Thank you.
I was never super like connected to my high school. Some people are, some people aren't. And I was never one of those people. So I was pretty ready to leave it. So I did National Honor Society too, which that was important to me. And so was being able to walk and graduate with my class, same kids I've been with since kindergarten. But I do know like the difference. My sister, it was so important to her not to be separated that she didn't end up doing early college. She did dual enrollment instead, and she did kind of regret that. But there's just like a very big, some people it's very important to. So I think it's important to have that option.
Thank you.
No?
I'm curious to know if you all, as freshmen, did you know about these programs? Like, were you aware of them as options and were you planning towards them?
I did not know about it until my junior year.
Yeah, that's kind of the same case for me. I didn't know about it. It was offered as a different way to keep me in the school so I wouldn't graduate early, but it's definitely something I've tried to do now is advocate more for it and put it out. But you have to seek it out in schools a lot of the time to find out about it.
Do you think if you had known about it before, that you would have like maybe managed your 9th and 10th grade years differently?
Absolutely.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
Abby?
I'm just interested in what your career goals are now.
I have my associates in early childhood education, and I'm currently getting my bachelor's in human services, which I should have in June, and then I'll go for my master's in that as well. So I'm hoping to work as either a school counselor or in like DCFS.
The major I'm working toward at CCV is behavioral science. Being a junior firefighter, fire and rescue has been something that I've been very passionate about, although it's something I've started recently. So with my degree in behavioral science that I'll hopefully graduate next June, I'm hoping to use that to better assist patients we respond to, whether it's a mental health call or, a house fire. I think knowing how to interact with those people when they're having their worst moment or their worst day is really important because that's not an aspect you're really thinking about when it's come to fire and rescue. It's, oh, just put the fire out, just fix it. And it's like, okay, there's more to fix than just what's externally wrong. There's internal that needs to be taken care of too.
I thought it was interesting, both of you talked about how, you were working and that was a piece of it as well. Was that an important consideration for you in doing the program that you could work, take the school and still participate in your local, take CCV and still do a high school at the combination of those? Or was the working piece just sort of a happy coincidence that you could do it?
The work piece was very important to me, especially with owning a small business and it's just a family business. So I'm needed a lot at home. Employers don't look for just schooling, they look for experience. So I was able to start getting that experience and pretty much have as much experience as I do a degree, which is what a lot of employers look for. So that was really important.
My plan was never initially to work. My dad encouraged me to, said, why don't you get a job? I'm very grateful that that was something he told me to do. I wouldn't be able to afford the car that I have now. I would still be driving my 2007 if I wasn't working, which is as old as me. So I'm very grateful. And that was another benefit that came with early college.
There's Edie on the screen.
Hi, Edie.
Hi, everybody. So thank you so much. I really appreciate being able to pop in here. I'm not able to be there today. I just wanted to ask you about the schools where you started. How big were the schools, your high school that you graduated from? What kind of opportunities were there? And what, I guess you already talked a lot about how this opened up your opportunities. So I'm curious if your high school had more opportunities for you, how would that have changed your experience?
I went to Essex High School. So they had the Center for Technology Essex, which is really popular, I've heard. There was nothing really there that super interested me. They brought this program to mind and dual enrollment, which was something cool that they offered, or they also had AP classes, which I know a lot of other high schools offer. I wasn't a huge fan of those just because of the way that they're set up. I thought it was a little more complicated to me than just going to early college. So I guess if it was a little less complicated, maybe I would have gone a different route, but this just seemed like the best choice for me.
I went to Brattleboro Union High School. We have a very strong dual enrollment program, and we also have a tech center. Our tech center used to have a fire science program where you could be certified in Fire One, and the program was taken away right the year before I was about to do it. And so I took all advantage that I could of the dual enrollment. I took 3 dual enrollment courses in my time at Brattleboro, and you technically only get 2 vouchers for it. So I really squeezed the juice out of the system there. And so then there was really nothing left for me to do. I had done everything I possibly could there. And so when early college came up, it was, this is kind of what you've got left.
Other questions? Well, thank you again for joining us this morning, and hopefully we'll see you out on the floor this afternoon. You're here to hear a resolution. Be read too. So we look forward to seeing you on the floor as well. Again, thank you. Joyce, thank you for everything you do.
Well, thank you. And we have 3 other early college students here in the audience. I know this isn't proper, but would you like them to just introduce themselves?
Great.
And just your name and school.
We have 15 more minutes if you want to weigh in. Tell us a little bit about yourself as well.
Cooper. I am from Harwood Union. I am an early college student here at CCV. I guess I'll say why I chose it while I'm here. I really was, I think one of my favorite parts about early college is that I'm able to take classes that I wouldn't normally be able to take at the public high school. So like I'm in a principles and management class right now. So just the opportunities to do a lot of other subjects that I might not have been able to at the high school is a big factor for my decision. So.
I'm Natalie. I also went to Harwood. I'm in my 2nd year at CCV, and I'm getting my degree in early childhood education. And when I first started, I was kind of like on the edge of what I wanted to do. I was kind of very indecisive. I knew I wanted to work with kids, but I didn't know what aspect. I didn't know if I wanted to go early childhood education or behavioral science. Like I was just really on the edge. But all the opportunities that I got through CCV kind of allowed me to like really hone in on what I wanted to do, and to set me up for a lot of success. So just like getting the opportunity to explore, really important.
I'm Marley. I'm also from Harwood, and I'm in my first of 2 years, at CCV, and I'm currently in behavioral science. I have a really big interest in substance use counseling, so I'm working towards that slowly. I chose early college just because I had moved from Moretown to Richmond, and they wanted me to switch schools completely for my senior year, which I just knew I would not have enjoyed just because I knew nobody, and I only had 2 credits left at the high school. As soon as I heard about early college, I knew that I wanted to do it right away. I also knew that I wouldn't be able to really go to college based off of financial stuff with my family. So I think that was a really big part of it. And also just I was pretty done with high school. I was really struggling with, the environment of teenagers and being more mature than some of, my peers and that kind of thing. So I think it was just my ultimate best decision, but I just chose that one because it's honestly helped me so much. It's pretty great.
The 2 young ladies that have chosen early childhood, I think what drove you to that is it, and what helped really get you over the line? We made some changes a few years ago on how we fund early childhood care and, you know, we're putting a lot of money into it now because we realize that if we're gonna have young people come into the state, that they need to make sure that their children are well cared for while they work. And the cost is extremely high. So we've created a system where there's some really good subsidies to get, make sure that parents aren't paying, you know, a ton of money for childcare, but also we want to make sure that the people that are providing childcare are well paid for as well, well paid. And you know, when you two are going to college, getting a college degree is not cheap. And you know, to think that people working in early childhood are making just above minimum wage with a bachelor's degree doesn't make a whole lot of sense to anybody. And so I'm wondering if any of that, of the changes that we made, factored into your decision of going into early childhood care.
I always knew that I wanted to work with kids. I've been working with kids and like babysitting and nannying since I was like 12 years old. I've just really enjoyed being around young children because they're just so like bubbly and happy all the time. Well, not all the time, but you know, it's a great environment. It's fun. I began working at a daycare right out of high school and noticed quite a bit about what you were saying, where it's really challenging for families to put that amount of trust in people. Especially, I was 18 years old. You're dropping your kid off at a center where an 18-year-old's watching them. It's a little questionable, but where was I going with that? Oh yeah, I was not making barely any money. I made $17.50 an hour, and my coworkers one of them had been working there for 18 years, made 18 an hour. And that was just so disheartening because people can't afford to live that way. And as a college student, I could, but hearing my coworker who had been there for that significant amount of time was still making nothing was crazy. And it's just, our kids deserve better. The people who work with kids deserve better. And parents are still, even though we're making not that much, the parents are still paying a significant amount a week. My neighbors are currently trying to find childcare, and all the childcare centers in our area are full and there's wait lists. And they were saying that one near us was $7,000 or not, $700 biweekly for 2 days a week. And that's just really unattainable for a lot of families. So I was going in to try to help that.
Yeah, I started out of summer camp, so I didn't really see all of that. But I recently got a job at a preschool, and everybody comes from a different family. I work with like younger kids, they're like 2.5. So there's like all sorts of stuff that starts that young, and you know, certain diverse abilities that show up in parents who are like, I have no idea what to do with my kid. They're starting to show this and that, and I don't know what to do with so much money. And I'm already paying so much at the center. Like, there's just so much to it. But yet, like, the cost of what they pay is like not equivalent to like what we make. And obviously, there's like funds and everything that go into the program. We're an early Head Start program, so there's a lot of funds that go towards that and making sure all the kids are like properly taken care of and their families are properly like prepared for the children. Yeah. But I do think that having the first 2 years for free really kind of gave me comfort, and that like when I come out, I'm gonna have less debt than I would if I went to a 4-year college. It'll be an easier way to pay it off because I'll only have a smaller amount of money, making a smaller amount of money. The financial piece didn't deter me because like you said, just knowing something that I always wanted to do. So there's just extra comfort knowing that, you know, there was these programs to provide like free education for me to get that.
Any other questions? We have some parents with us too.
We do.
These are my parents.
Yeah.
Renee and Brad.
Welcome. Thank you for coming.
I would like to note that we have 3 children. She mentioned our other daughter did the dual enrollment, but our son is a sophomore, and since he's been a freshman, knowing his sister did the dual enrollment, or not the full college, that he's had that as a goal. So he's already talked to his counselor about preparing so he can do the college for senior year.
Great. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you for this opportunity. You know, I think it's always good for us to hear. I always enjoy it as well, hearing from students that we come here, we talk about the big things, but this is the real deal. So thanks for taking the time. I know you guys are slammed with lots of stuff, but I appreciate it.
Thank you. We appreciate everything you do.
Great. We'll see you at 1 o'clock.
That was good.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
I think that's a wrap for us today. After the floor, there's the National Guard hosting. Mandatory, but hopefully you can stop at them, chat with them all night. And people, men and women that have come out to see it. And so tomorrow, to continue on, I think a few more, bill introductions, and then we're gonna look at 117 and 125. Start working on those. Any questions?